Oh, landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess. And back in my day, it was my day. But while you and I are both sitting here doing nothing, and I know you're sitting there doing nothing, you complete slacker, I thought we'd take a look at the Hall of Shame. I dug out 5 of the worst knives that I've got, and these are, knives that I expected to be okay that turned out to be kind of awful. We're staying away from the gas station stuff that I bought knowing it was bad, but for entertainment purposes, and we are staying well out of the Temu trenches. These are ones that I had an expectation they were going to be okay and got let down profoundly. So, we're going to kick this off with one of the meme knives of the channel, the Cold Steel 1911. And this hurts because I am a bit of a Cold Steel fanboy. I haven't really kept that a secret. And everything about this on paper looked good. You know, the handle here, it's designed after the grip of a 1911, just a smaller version. I kind of wish they would have done that full-sized. It's Cold Steel. Why they didn't do something full-sized is beyond my ability to reckon or grasp. But the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. We've got, I believe, FRN scales on here. We got a flipper tab. Let's flick the bean. And, of course, we got our blade a hair shy of 3 inches. And this is in 4116. And that's where it let me down. Because it carried all right. It worked all right. The ergonomics were okay. But the steel is garbage. This might be the worst or tied for first place with the worst steel we have done a Cardboard Slayer run on. It took next to no time to wear out. It sucked, and I was so disappointed by that. And it's like, Cold Steel's known for using, like, tough materials and stuff like that, but with this one, they straight up phoned it in. Like, somebody was just like, nah, we don't like it when people are happy, so give them trash. And that's part of why it achieved Hall of Shame status. This came from Cold Steel. I think I paid like $25 for it, and I got the performance of a $5 knife out of that steel. Just, my mind is blown with just how terrible that wound up being. Like, I expected such good things out of it. And good for a budget knife. Good for a $25 knife. No. This is one of those where if you're looking at it, you think it looks cool, I would pass on it, and it sucks because everything else on it works good. The liner lock works good, the action's smooth, the flipper tab's good. It looks a little bit dingusy as far as it sticks out here, but, other than that, it works well. But, man, the steel is trash. And with it just being trash steel, that's what kind of puts it in 5th place here. It's a bad knife. It's one of my most disappointing purchases so far, but it's not the worst by at least a reasonable margin. Next up, I think we're going to get into that Ozark Trail $5 Axis lock for no other reason. Like, the steel is as bad as the steel on the 1911. We think it might be the same steel. It's very likely because, like, 4116 is the absolute bottom of the barrel. Like, if you want to get worse than 4116, maybe invest in some mild steel. But this one, I have complained about it, but we've also got new eyes on the channel that haven't seen this thing really before. So I'll fill you in on what happened. And this thing, it was a $5 Axis lock at Walmart last Christmas. And, I went out and got it as soon as I could find one because, hype train, and that was the meme knife of the time. It's got a brother that is actually pretty decent. But this one, so with your flipper tab, okay, the way it comes around, you might be able to see this on the camera, but the way the flipper tab comes around, there's a channel that goes up through here that the Axis lock rides in. This was basically almost flat into a 45 into another flat along the inside of the channel right there. So if you use the Axis lock to deploy it, it got hard locked here and would not move any further until you let go of the lock. And, even though it's $5, something like that should not have left the factory. Like, every single one they made was like that. And this is part of what validates how I do this channel, okay? So what had happened was guys were reviewing this. They would take it out of the package. They'd do the flipper tab here and then close it 2 hands with the Axis lock and do that like 4 times. Dude, this thing's amazing. Go ahead and get one. Pick some up for your friends. They're fantastic. And, it's it amazed me because we're knife guys. If you have an axis lock, you're going to do axis lock things. That's the rules. Rules are rules. I can't change them. Not a single one of those guys did this, even once, which drove me nuts. So that's part of why I carry these. I test them, I do the cardboard slayer on them, put some use on them, try to find problems. And that one was a big problem. It was a huge no-no. And because I couldn't get these screws out back here, these screws just would not move. I stripped out a T6 driver. I wound up having to basically take the pivot apart and work this thing out with everything still assembled and get it back in there about 3 times and spend a bunch of time on the little kin onion belt grinder to get that thing smoothed out enough to work right. It's still not perfect, but I'm not taking it apart again. I have dumped a better part of like 3 hours into working on this thing. And that's because that's the kind of guy I am. A $5 knife I'll spend that much time on, but I won't take apart a bug out for any reason whatsoever because I don't want to put that back together. Yeah, so that was a nightmare to get working right, and, it could be forgiven for a $5 knife, except if I buy something, even at $5, I expect it to at least work, at least work. It was severely disappointing to have to deal with that. It was fun learning how to deal with it and figure it out, but, just no. So the next one you guys have seen recently, the Revo Canyon. And this thing is just, like I said in the video I did on it, just everything about this is really cheap. And the biggest thing is, one, the factory edge is straight garbage. It's 4CR14. They want $30 for it. And this button lock, like, the spring on it's way too strong, and you can't tell if you've pushed it down far enough because the button's so small, it can press up into your thumb, and you don't have it pressed all the way down even if you're putting full pressure on it. So you really got to get the tippy tip of your bone and press down with that to get it to work. And then you have no idea if you've let go of it enough to actually close it. And there's no other way to open it. All right, a button lock close, like, they're not going to throw a liner lock on top of that, but the design is just terrible. And there are so many things that they did on this that are hard to mess up, and they still messed it up. Like I had said, this is a top 5 worst knives I've had, and yeah, it's definitely a top 5. And it's a shame. It's kind of like the 1911. They got real close with it. A lot of good things going on paper, but nope. So wing and a miss. So next up, we got the Gerber Quadrant. And this has not shown up in quite a while. Like, I got it out of the box. I did the videos when I was only doing shorts, had no confidence on camera. I look at those videos now and I'm just like, yes. I was still learning how to do the thing and getting my channel's identity established at that point in time. But when this thing came out of the box, the action was so tight that you could hear it squeak if you did this. All right, you could go full gas, no brakes on the flipper tab and go as hard as you could. It opened that far and stuck. It was like if you really threw your wrist into it, you could get it to flick open. And it did not work at all. So I wound up having to, and if you have a frame lock that's having that kind of issue, there's an easy fix for it. To just take your lock right here where you press the thing. I don't know what it's called. Sorry, words are hard right now. I've been at work all day. But pull it out farther than it's supposed to be. Give it a little pressure. Let it go, and just keep doing that until it relaxes some. And what I got out of that was, little tiny wrist flick, and it works now. It works. If you don't flick your wrist though, that's all you get. Yeah, they make pills for that, but I haven't fed it any. So once you make it past that, just the grind on this, the top of the grind, the top of this hollow is very uneven on both sides. It trails kind of up and down. It looks like crap. The factory edge was garbage. It's one of the worst factory edges I've ever gotten. And I paid full price for this thing. I think it was like 30 or 35 bucks. And I mean, this is one of those where Gerber's like, gas station knives? Hold my beer and my phone that I'm watching my mom's OnlyFans on. I got this. And yeah, I mean, and I'm not the only person with those complaints. It's been notorious for people having the same problems and hating it for the exact same reasons. And it's a shame too, because it's a very cool looking design. It's cool. It's flat. If it was done better, this could have been like one of those budget gentleman knives, a little bit of a sleeper. The pocket clip's pretty skookum. It's just, they really, really screwed the pooch on it. And of course, the king. The Sativian ST-155, the meme knife of all meme knives on the channel. I hate everything about this thing. So, this is also one of those that hasn't really shown up in a while. I know I've done like a Hall of Shame video a while back, but there's so many new eyes on the channel that I thought I would share just kind of the updated list, where our champions are currently. And the problems start with deployment, okay? So you've got a front flipper and a back flipper here. And if you notice how comically huge they are. Problem the first, and everybody that has one has done this, if you hit this thing and you don't get your finger out of the way fast enough, this swings around and look where you're caught, all right? You get caught right there, and I can't begin to tell you how painful that is. It is extremely painful. And the thing is, this is a heavy blade with a fairly loose action on it. Like, you know, I just barely put enough pressure to break the detent loose and it swung around that far. And this thing is full of cardboard dust from sitting next to the live stream station. You can't use this front flipper at all, hardly. Like, it's possible, but it's not comfortable. It's way too big for that, and the detent's a bit too strong to be doing that. You got your thumb hole here that's microscopic. Like, it's really hard to get in there and actually use the thumb stud. What you can do, however, is flick off the fuller, which is pretty nice. But that is all, like, secondary issues, all right? The only thing this has going for it is I think the blade looks cool as hell. It looks like a dragon's head. I like it a lot. But carrying this in the waistband, it hot-spotted like crazy. There was a massive hot spot, the exact shape of this thing, on my hip for the rest of the day after I got home from work. So I thought, you know, you got these indents right here that look like they're to ride on a thigh comfortably and like not cause issues there. No. This was like having a piece of reasonably high grit sandpaper pressed up against your skin the whole day in the pocket with layers of cloth protecting you. Like, it was painful. Like, I got home with this thing and I was like, you know what? Never again. I am never carrying this again like that. Now, I will say, if you are going to Blade Show in Atlanta in 2025, barring the unforeseen, I will be there, and unless I forget, I will have this with me. And the first person to recognize me from the channel will go home with this thing. I am not one to suffer alone. So let me scare myself here. It terrifies me using that flipper tab. It does. I am not kidding. There's no hyperbole there. I'm not exaggerating. That thing scares the hell out of me to use. Now, we've got an honorable mention. We have got the SOG Terminus XR. And you guys that have been around for a minute have heard me complain about it a few times now, but, I mean, the knife itself is great. I love this thing, all right? The action on it feels really good. For me, the axis lock on here feels really good. It's really easy to time it. It's super forgiving. A lot of guys don't like it because there's a stop right here, like a weird stop, and if you don't let go of it at the right time, yeah, it won't pull it the rest of the way shut. Like, the timing on it's a little bit funky if you're used to bug out timing or something like that, but it works really well, and it's very smooth, and I love the action. It did good on Cardboard Slayer. The Cryo D2 held up pretty well. The only problem, the only turd in the punch bowl is this pocket clip. This pocket clip makes it virtually impossible to actually carry clipped anywhere. You have to carry it loose in your pocket if you're going to carry it, because the SOG stamp is raised. Everything else is lower topographically than the SOG stamp. So you got a spot right here. Let's see. Yeah, you got a spot right here that catches on cloth and hangs onto it and digs in. It is nearly impossible to pull it back out of anything that you clip this onto because of the way that is shaped. That was so infuriating and so disappointing. That really, really upset me. And then I called, and like, you can call SOG, what, GSM Outdoors or whoever it is, and pay for shipping and get new pocket clips. And I did that. And I asked for Terminus XR LTE pocket clips because those are actually good. They fixed the problem. It took 8 months and a couple of phone calls to get these pocket clips sent, the ones I didn't want, and specifically asked to not get. So the reason this is an honorable mention is now they make them with this pocket clip. A good pocket clip that actually works and turns this into a fantastic daily driver. And I pinned someone down at Blade Show, told them what happened with the customer service issues and all that. I just wanted a new pocket clip, but they gave me a whole new knife. So the knife itself, like, this thing is fantastic, but make sure if you're buying one, you're getting this pocket clip and this texturing on the scales. If you don't see those two things, because like the old one, the texturing on the scales is pretty fine. It's a very fine checker. The new one, good bit different, and of course the contouring is different. It's a much better version of this. This was so close to being a fantastic knife, and on the second try they got it. So they did fix all the issues with it. And for me, it's rare to see a company actually address an issue like this. They'll just let it ride and never do a thing about it, and then discontinue the knife later on down the road. But they fixed it, and this thing is like, for me personally, it's definitely worth picking up. It's definitely worth having. You know, it's one of those where it's a shame that I am rotating and driving something different every week. It's like, I'd like to carry this some more, but I got to do review stuff. I got to do knife tuber stuff. So yeah, that is the Hall of Shame as it stands right now. These are 5 of the worst knives that I have got for various reasons. And of course, again, we're staying away from the gas station stuff that I knew was terrible when I got it, and it was there for a laugh. And we're staying way out of the Temu trenches. So, all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all keep coming in. I appreciate you so much. You have no idea. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I've got 4 knives to give away at 2K. We're getting there way faster than I expected, so get in the door and try to win yourself a knife. Comments, I love some feedback. Let's roast these things. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.